Cindy.
Hi, Governor. Thanks for the opportunity.
Sure.
The Department of Revenue Services issued a report that states 2/3 of the companies making money in Connecticut in 2008 paid no corporate tax. One big example, of course, is Bank of America, whose CEO last year himself made a bonus of $9 million, and there's been no contribution to the state of Connecticut. I know that you've said that you're concerned that corporations and the super wealthy may pick up and move if asked to contribute more in taxes. But my question is how really is this a shared, fair sacrifice for everyone involved? It seems that the middle class is really just being trampled upon.
Well, you know, let's be very clear. The reason that 2/3 of corporations don't pay tax is they are a subchapter S corporation. So when you use that number, which means they pay their tax through the owner's personal income tax. So when you use that statistic, it's really not telling the truth or the whole story. Because most corporations in the state of Connecticut are very small, and they're set up for a specific purpose. If you did catering and you were a single employee, you'd probably be a subchapter S. You want to be a corporation to ensure that you don't lose your house if there was something that went wrong, but you're paying a tax, and you're paying a tax on the income. With respect to Bank of America, listen, I'm not defending Bank of America. There is a reality that they paid a tax when they made money. You're picking a year when nationally they didn't make money. They actually lost a lot of money. And that got passed on to a number of states, not just Connecticut. But if you go back the year before, they paid taxes. And I'm betting you they're going to pay a fair amount of taxes this year, because they're doing pretty well. Now, you can also then talk about a national trend. At one point in the 50 states, about 30% of state revenue came from corporate income tax. And the average in the United States has shrunk very substantially. It's somewhere in the low or mid-single digits. That happened because states decided that A, they wanted to compete with one another, but B, they were seeing a fair amount of jobs move elsewhere. And they thought that was a good way to compete. Now, our tax structure is very much benchmarked on the corporate level against the states that we compete with. We compete geographically, most with Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New York, and New Jersey. And then, of course, the other 45 states. And then, of course, every other nation in the world. There are many countries that don't have any corporate income tax. That's an incentive to offshore. There are states that have lower rates than we do, and there are states that have higher rates than we do. But here I am, I'm the governor in a state that has the highest electric rates in the country, and 18% higher than the rest of New England. So what I try to do, what I'm trying to do, and we can argue whether I'm doing it properly, I understand that, is find the right balance so that we can start to grow jobs in the state of Connecticut again. And if we raise corporate taxes on United Technologies, for instance, they just closed the plant in Cheshire and moved those jobs to Georgia and Singapore. We start to make single decisions on our own part as a state, and we further damage what's left of the competitive advantage that we have, or we go to a situation where we have no competitive advantage. Then we're going to repeat in the next 22 years what we've done so successfully the last 22 years. Which is to lose jobs. There are only two states in the nation that lost jobs in that period of time, Michigan and Connecticut. And Michigan actually retained a higher percentage of their jobs than we did. So we've got to change that trend. And we've got to benchmark our tax system. And I'm willing to have conversations with members of the legislature and anybody. But understand that that's what I'm trying to do. That's the context in which we're trying to get this thing going. That's the context in which we're making these decisions, which is not a decision, it's a recommendation. Thank you.